Welcome to the Trilateral Podcast. I'm here with Zineb Haddaji, a journalist from Djibouti. Djibouti is a small country in the Horn of Africa with outsized strategic, military, and trade dynamics. It sits across from Yemen and is at the entrance to the Red Sea. Zineb, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Max. Thank you so much for having me here on the podcast. And I am so happy to be with you and share Djibouti's story, and especially the story of the people back home.
For those of us who might not know much about Djibouti, what does journalism in Djibouti look like?
Oh yeah, it's a very important question and close to my heart as a journalist, because unfortunately in Djibouti the media landscape is so restrained by the government, and we don't have really a proper freedom of press or freedom of speech. All the license to media outlets are controlled by the government, and even the foreign big media, they struggle a little bit to get into the country and to report on it, especially when it comes to politics or human rights or regional conflicts, and all these topics are kind of difficult to cover because the government almost control every speech and everything diffused on the public space.
So when you say the government controls the media, does that mean that they're kind of reviewing everything that's being said and approving it, or are they actually owning the media companies and maybe even owning the reporters? What does it look like?
Just to give a little bit of context, Djibouti's population is so small. It's 1.8 million. So we really don't have a big market for media. We have the government TV and radio and newspaper. We don't really have a proper independent media outlet, so we really don't have countable media outlets. So the government doesn't own the private, but it's kind of self-censorship because people know the red lines, people know what to talk about, what not to talk about. We can see during the last month there is some of courageous people who spoke out on the social media platform, but we still cannot say that we have a proper independent media outlet.
So there is a huge, maybe not a huge, but in general, a significant risk to free journalism.
Oh yeah, sure, because the country is small, the government can get you easily if you publish something they don't like, and especially when it comes to critics, when you are asking questions about public funds or governance or stuff like this, it's very risky to be inside the country and report about politics and accountability, government accountability. It's really risky.
So what does that look like culture-wise? Because I think that, in Russia, people have the good idea that most of what they see on the media is a lie, that their government is kind of just telling them whatever the government wants them to think, and they kind of know to just not trust anything. Is it like that in Djibouti as well? Do people know that or think that the media in general just cannot be trusted?
Yeah, sure. People are so smart, and we have a lot of educated people and young people, especially Gen Z. They are so smart. They know what is going on outside of the country and inside of the country. I don't think they buy the governmental narrative on the public media, because what we really see in governmental media, we cannot say it's a public media because it doesn't serve the public. But I'm sure that people see kind of PR content about the minister and the government, no really meaningful information to the public, so people know. That's why they seek information through social media platform from people, maybe activists or journalists exiled. They have been pushed to leave the country, So people now they seek the information from the social media with the risk to be exposed to fake news and misinformation.
Now, is that, I know, you're a journalist, you're not living in Djibouti anymore. I don't know if you have plans to return. Is that kind of a sort of media in exile something that you are looking into or interested in doing, or does it really still carry risks even outside of Djibouti?
I think the risk can still exist anywhere and everywhere for a journalist. Journalists all over the world, when they decide to do this job, they took the risk. So the field itself, it's a risk, but also sometimes to be outside, it's a way to tell the truth and to inform the people. So choosing to be outside of the country, it's not about only self-security, but also to exert this profession as fourth estate, as a way to keep the people informed when you are in a country without freedom of press and freedom of expression.
It isn't just getting into journalism because you're interested in learning more topics. There's in your opinion, a societal need for people maybe like you that are able to tell the real story of what's going on.
Yeah, I all the time reflected on this, especially when it comes to Djibouti, because the mass media are all the time covering it through only the geopolitics angle or the immigration angle, and we really don't see our real story on the media. This is one of the reasons that pushed me to counter the system in a certain way and tell really story of the people beyond geopolitics or headlines that tell headlines that tell our stories from a narrow perspective and sometimes without any context.
Which is an interesting perspective because Djibouti is not a very homogenous nation. There aren't culturally people that are only from Djibouti. I think your country is made up significantly of people from neighboring countries or really from all over.
Yeah. One thing very, very incredible about Djibouti, it started as a port before it became a country. So the international trade and the movement of the population from the neighbor country create kind of mixed population, and with people coming from not only from the neighbor country like Yemen, Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea, but also people from far away like Pakistan, India, Greece, Italy, France, all over the world, and Madagascar, and we have a very beautiful cultural mix, and we have mixed family and mixed people. Djiboutian people are so open, and they get married to different nationality and from all over the world. So this is very interesting because this is what makes the country very special and very, very rich in terms of ethnicity and culture.
We covered, I think, journalism and the state and a little bit about the people. I think this would be a good place to maybe talk about your neighbors, but we could also get into that later. Like Eritrea and Somaliland and stuff.
Talk maybe about the culture, religion, and stuff.
Oh yeah, okay. I think when we, at least here in the West, hear about Djibouti, what we think of is usually the ports. And how important your country is for international shipping. But there's a good amount of it that, people just might not think about. Part of your history. You are a very mixed country, especially for how small you are. But you also there was a period of French colonialism.
Yeah.
And you have a number of ethnic, tribal makeup in your country. But really with everything that happened, you had a civil war 25 years ago. And I am impressed that with all of these external factors, that your country has been pretty stable for almost 30 years.
This is the Djiboutian exception, I can call it, because this diversity also pushed the people to be more resilient and more open, and learning from also what is going on in the neighborhood. For the civil war, it ends by signing a peace accord with the government, with the Fruit, which was the armed group, signing a peace agreement with the government on 1994, and they turned into civil political party. The current president played a crucial role to negotiate this accord and to bring them to the table and to convince them to do politics in pacific way and give away the arms. And after this, we watched the country prosper and developing and getting more port services and hosting several foreign military bases. But it doesn't mean it's static. That means you made a peace with the armed group. It's the civil war. It ends also because the people at that time got tired. At that time, it was also a problem of dryness, and people they suffered a lot. So a lot of element to take into consideration to understand how the civil war ended. So I think the Djiboutian learned a good lesson from the civil war, and they decided to move forward and to be more into developing the country.
I mean, it really is genuinely impressive, because the first country that I might think of that comes to mind that would have almost civil wars is Colombia. And it wasn't really a civil war, but you had these armed communist groups hiding in the forests, attacking buildings whenever they wanted. And that's kind of been going on and off for, I don't know if it really stopped, actually. I mean, there's been peace deals, but it kind of flares back up. And Colombia is pretty homogenous. Most of the people there have similar cultures. But your country had a civil war. You have a number of different ethnic makeups that are central to Djibouti. It's not just one people. And you also had wars with country next to you. And all of that over the past 30 years. And there's been what I think is peace, really, between your neighbors, or at least your people. And that really is impressive. I don't think we've seen that really anywhere else, especially not in the area.
Yeah, it's really an exception for the region, because there is tension between Somalia and Ethiopia, and tension between Eritrea and Ethiopia. Djibouti still have border conflicts, for example, with Eritrea and Kenya, but we are able to deal with it in a diplomatic way, and I think also being an open country for different foreign powers, it helps also to bring some good brand to the country in a certain way. Also, the diversity also helped to maintain this peace. But right now, during these days, I think this stability also comes with price, and this price is about the silencing the people and not having a proper democracy, and also proper election. And this is also the price to pay. Stability is good, dealing with all the intention around us, and we are affected also from these conflicts, because the refugee and the immigrant, when they have a problem in a neighborhood, they come to Djibouti. So Djibouti is not all the time able to host these people, and what happened on the neighborhood is really impacting us and impacting our economy. The government tried to collaborate with UN agency to deal with the crisis, the human crisis, but sometimes it's only kind of quick crisis solution and not sustainable one. So I'm concerned about how we deal with this in the future.
Refugee crises are difficult for every country. but you don't have the luxury of, refugees having to take a long trip to get to Djibouti. This when things happen on your back porch, your country might have to take a lot of people in, whether or not they're ready for it.
Yeah, and also you are right, Max. And also, it's not only about the economic capacity of the country, but also the security of the country. Because having people coming from the conflict zone, it's also a problem in terms of security, because you don't know really the background of the people and who they are, and they are also trying to cross the Red Sea to go to Yemen, and from Yemen to the Arab Gulf country to seek for a different life. From the human side, it's completely understandable that people seek peace and seek better life, but also how we deal with this, it's controversial, because they're also not living the best life in Djibouti, because maybe they work like without paper, and maybe they are not well paid, or maybe they are not well paid or well treated. I have seen reports from American resources talking about violation of human rights in Djibouti, and it's very, very concerning. It's almost every year, but also Djiboutian people are so warm, welcoming. They help the refugees. They really care about this, because every ethnicity in Djibouti has part of the family on the other border. It's really deep connection and family connection. But how long we will be able to deal with it, and does the government has any efficient strategy to make this immigration also positive for the economy and positive for the people? I'm not sure that we have a clear plan for this, and especially when we watch what is going on in the region, I don't see really a clean plan on this way.
Where you are geopolitically in the Bab el-Mandeb, in entering the Red Sea, there is so much shipping that passes by your country and maybe stops in your ports, and you are also the hub for transports to go from Djibouti through to the rest of Africa. Have you seen your government develop opportunities for people to take advantage of transshipment or port operations? Do you still control your ports? I know that ports aren't always owned by their countries.
Yeah, so for the ports of Djibouti, we have diverse services, as you mentioned, transshipment, and also providing port service for our neighbors, especially the giant number, the Ethiopian, because their only access to the sea is through Djibouti, since Eritrea got its independence. So Ethiopia became low-landed. We serve the Ethiopian people through these ports. We try to diversify our services for transshipment or other services, but still not enough to give the people better life, because I don't see really the people taking advantage of it. For example, for the truck drivers who are operating on the corridor Addis Ababa, Djibouti, Addis Ababa, most of the truck drivers are Ethiopian and working for Ethiopian company, and I'm not sure that our government negotiates any portion for the local businesses. The local businesses are struggling, and it's really unfair, because most of the Ethiopian company are they have like public's action on them, but the Djiboutian private business, they only like private sector, and they put their money on this kind of business in hope to get more they invest in this sector because they think it's very lucrative and they can make a lot of money and employ local people, but which not really the truth and the situation right now. Also, we have seen also a lot of Chinese company operating in the country. There is no harm to have foreign investment for sure, but we are not sure that our local workers are taking advantage of it. So we need to ask a question about this partnership and to understand who is the winner in this kind of partnership.
Foreign investment is great, especially if your own businesses have a trouble surviving. We had an example here in America where we had a plant that makes windshields for cars, and I think it kind of went under. China bought it out. And from what I understand, the workers at that plant were not very happy with new management. Foreign investment can be great, but has it been tricky for the Djiboutian people? Do they work for the Chinese companies, or do the Chinese companies just bring their own people in?
Most of the time they bring their own people, but it's not about them. It's about our government, our authority, how they negotiate this. I would be happier if they take into consideration to employ local people and to give more job to local people. The port services is very, very huge and important for the region, and I think we need to do better in terms of employing local people and to give them better life, because we are a young nation, so we are having a lot of people graduate from the university every year, and we need to employ them. And I think the port services are one of the best way, because this is our main business right now. We need also to think about fitting our education to our employment market. So there is a lot to improve in this field. Yeah.
When you talk about more opportunities, you're not just talking about bringing jobs that are already in Djibouti back to Djiboutians, right? You're talking also about maybe expanding the universities. Could you walk me through maybe what you would hope to see that would bring more opportunity to Djiboutians?
Yeah, of course, because when you have a qualified, talented and qualified, skilled people, and you prepare them for the main business of the country, which is ports, it's very important. We can see the country more prosper in this way, and we can reduce the numbers of expats, if I can say. We will be offshore. We will need expats for sure, because we need more experienced people with high level of experience. But also we need to think about transfer of competence and skills to the local people.
Right. I mean, if people don't get a seat at the table, they'll never learn.
Sure. This is completely right.
One of the areas besides the media that your state or your government is a little controlling in is religion. I understand that you're a diverse country. There's lots of different religions being practiced there, and I think mostly tolerated.
Yeah.
But what does state, I don't know if I want to call it censorship, but control. What does state control of religion look like in Djibouti?
So the majority of the population are Muslim in Djibouti, and since few years the government tried to control the religious speech through the religious leaders and the imam. They're trying to, because by the end of the day they are employee of state, so they try to keep an eye on what is going on the mosque, and try to fight against terrorism and radicalization of the society. Some people think it's fair, and others think it's too much into the control of people's faith.
I understand that. I believe that there's not a small number of people that get their information and their guidance from their religion, from the preacher. Yeah. And if I understood it correctly, your state actually operates the mosques.
Yeah.
And the imams are employees of the state.
Correct.
And so everything that they're saying in their background, they're getting vetted before they're allowed to basically just open up a new mosque.
Yeah, most of the time, but we still have like you cannot control everything because the faith is very very deep rooted thing on the human being's souls and minds. So the government cannot control everything. It's good to keep an eye to keep an eye on into what is going on, because Djibouti also serves as a platform to fight against extremism and terrorism in the country, and that's why we have this big number of foreign military bases in the country. But I think also Djiboutian people, they are smart enough to practice their religion in a proper way, and they are very, very, very open-minded. You cannot compare the Djiboutian people, for example, to other population in the region without like going further into this, because Djibouti is a very, very tolerant place and very, very open space for foreign, because in a small country, majority of the people are Muslim. We have a Orthodox Church, Catholic Church, and Protestant Church, and under the Protestant group we have Greek Protestant and Ethiopian Protestant, and all of these churches and in one street in the country, in downtown Djibouti. So every Sunday you can see this beautiful Ethiopian woman with their white scarf crossing the street in a group, like white flowers working on the street, and people are so tolerant. So I think this is what makes Djibouti very, very unique as example of tolerance in the region, when we're in a region very, very complicated with ethnic wars and groups. And I think the people are smart enough to have more freedom to deal with this. So keeping an eye into the radicalization or the extremism of the terrorism is good. But also I think we need to give the people their freedom of speech back, and because they are smart enough and they know how to deal with it. Djibouti is one of the oldest country that like East Africa in general and the Horn of Africa specifically, who became Muslim because of the proximity with the Arab world and the Palestinian Arabia. That's why it started in a very pacific way, and the Sufi movement is also part of the culture in Djibouti. It comes with dance and songs, and it's very, very joyful as a religion practice.
What exactly is the Sufi movement?
Sufi, it's like people, they pray and they do songs to pray, and they dance also. It's kind of turning the praise into songs, and it's really far from extremism or terrorism. It's a very peaceful way to practice Islam.
When we talk about a majority Islamic country, it's worth keeping in mind that plenty of majority Muslim countries are actually quite tolerant. They have a very moderate, oftentimes a moderate form of Islam. Sometimes they even smoke and drink, that kind of thing. It sounds like that's been the case for Djibouti in the past. Is that something you see changing at all? I mean, I understand your government has some control on it, but just in general, have there been an uptick in basically extremism, basically?
Yeah. Since this content is also coming from social media platform, you cannot control it. Like some people, they got into radicalization because they consume certain social media content which is not really fitting the local culture and the history of the country. So also being surrounded with conflicts and wars in the neighborhood. It's not an easy thing to control because you can host people or NGOs or from abroad, but you really don't know what kind of principle or culture they are spreading. So it's kind of tricky, but I still believe like Djiboutian, they have their own way of practicing their religion, and they don't need like to be taught from someone else how to practice. And especially I can search into our women. They are so empowered. They are working as a vendor on the street, and they really have small businesses and small trades. And we have a very unique thing in Djibouti, changing money on the street is 100% a feminine market.
Really?
Yeah.
It's only done by women?
Only done by women, because they are in the streets and they are sitting like from morning to night on a chair outside, and they are exchanging
currencies.
Yeah. And it's very unique and it's very nice, because also we are a port country, so we have a lot of foreign workers there and people travel. So I wrote a story about this. I reported on it, and it's 100% women, and they are standing the heat and the weather, and now they are well respected by the society, and even people, they empathize with them. For example, instead of going to change in the bank, they change on the street, because they believe these women are maybe widow or divorced, and they are earning their life through this business. And what's really funny about this, I asked one woman when I did this feature about this market, I asked her why there is only women doing this. I said, oh, forget about it. We men cannot do this. I said, well, they don't have passion to sit on a chair the whole day. It's really interesting, and this is really unique. I think it's the only place in the world that we have very unique culture, what women are doing this. And it started in the beginning when by the rotating saving system. So like there are, for example, five women, and if they contribute, for example, $10, and every month one of the women take the $50. So it's like rotate, and they form a small capital, and they start working on this market. They are able to figure out if the bill is fake or not. Most of them, they didn't even want to school, but they can calculate by the phone, and they can check even the bill is fake or not. This is really a unique Djiboutian story.
I would have had no idea. Incredible. Yeah, that's really interesting, especially because, I mean, they're on the street, it's like a co-op, right? I mean, a cooperative function. You were saying they basically were able to start currency exchanges by pooling money together, it sounded like, and then kind of sharing the savings. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, this is how they formed the first capital.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you can see them with a plastic chair on the street with a big bag. If you open this bag, you can find dollar, Syrian livre, Egyptian livre, Moroccan dirham, yuan, like a lot of currency.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. Staying on the topic of control, your president has been in office for close to 30 years now, I think. And I saw that they just passed some measure that I think he can now be president for 70 or 100 years. Does that sound right?
No, they just deleted the age limit to run again.
Okay.
It was by the end of 2025, and we have an upcoming election on this April.
You wrote about this election, right?
Yeah.
This upcoming one.
Yeah.
You used the word, I think,
scripted.
A scripted election.
Yeah.
It's not the first time I've heard of that concept of an election. I think my friend in Zimbabwe had told me that when Mugabe was getting removed, whoever the new leader was just, whoever the people in the back rooms were going to photocopy enough votes for. Is that, let's say, unique to Zimbabwe, or does something like that would you expect something like that to happen
It's more sophisticated.
Of course it is.
It's more sophisticated because to remain in power for a long time, you need to have a sophisticated system to continue. We have kind of another candidate who popped up from nowhere with no real political background, just to say we have pluralism. We have two candidates, not only one. And in a small country, it's very easy to control the people. It's you will not have waves of people demonstrating on the street because 1.8 million, it's very easy to control, Changing the constitution is unfair. How do you talk about election when people are not able to speak, they don't have access to information, other candidates are not able to campaign? For example, to be a candidate, the candidate fees is about $28,000.
$28,000,
yeah,
which is probably maybe more than what you would earn in a year in Djibouti.
Yeah, so it's a very high amount for people, and also people exiled and outside of the country were not able to come and campaign and be to reach out to the population. So I don't think it's a good way to run a country. For the current president, people recognize him as a leader when he played a very good role into stopping the civil war and also developing the port services and opening the economy, etc. But right now, the new generation, we live kind of in a global village, so people they cannot accept anymore to live under a censorship regime or dictator regime anymore, because Gen Z now, they are on social media, they know what is going on, their eyes are open to the world, they are smart enough to ask for more freedom and more democracy. And the so-called stability in Djibouti has a price. It's silencing the people, and it's not really fair. Even the global powers we are hosting, maybe they don't pay a lot of attention to the local domestic affairs in Djibouti, but they should, because it's better to contract with a government accepted by the people and elected in a democratic way than contracting with a government who is right now silencing his own people and not giving the people their power back. It's a fake stability.
When we talk about the people, I know that your country's ethnic makeup is so diverse, but is what sounds like recent unpopularity with the president, is that consistent across people with different backgrounds?
We don't have proper figures or statistics about this because of the way that the authority, we don't have proper figures and proper statistics about popularity of political leaders in general, because the government is not doing this, and we don't have really access to public records. We cannot say we have this percentage of people, but people, even though they are silenced, but in the private sphere they are talking that they are tired of this government and they are trying to leave the country and to immigrate to another country, to Europe, Canada, America, or wherever where they feel better and they feel more respected. So when the people are not proud about their government, it tells a lot about the acceptance of this government and the popularity.
I forgot that you don't have election polling in Djibouti. You know, there aren't people that go door to door and ask, you know, your background and whether you like this political change, and that's not really a thing there.
We have a political poll, like we are the Minister of Interior Affairs organizing this election.
Mm-hmm.
And we have votes and people register, and it's a very sophisticated system. But, for example, we don't have any inspectors from the West or Europe to come. We have only some inspectors coming from the African Union, and that's all. If we need to challenge the government, we can ask them to get this inspector from, like, the West country or the rest of the world, come and see what is going on the country. So I really don't agree that this election is going to change anything in the political system. That's why I called it a scripted election.
And election that you have coming up, that you are not super enthusiastic about, you expect the president to likely receive the popular vote and serve another term.
He will stay in power according to the law, like 5 years. The term is 5 years, but we don't know what's gonna happen after this election. We have no visibility about what is gonna happen. Really, like the election can take place and all the communication around will be set up and everything, but we really don't see how the future looks like for the Djiboutian people after this election. Not expecting a lot of change in terms of DNA of this regime.
And your president is, I think, in his 70s?
Yes.
How is he still? Is he getting older, or?
So, again, we don't have access to his medical records. We don't know anything about his health. It should be, the people should know about this because he's a public figure, and the office should tell the people about this, but people obviously can see that he's getting old and he's not 100% young.
He's getting older.
He's getting older. We are sure he's getting older. This is for sure. This is what we can see from the outside, but since we don't have access to his medical record and there is no communication about his health status, we cannot say anything related to this.
Concretely, you don't really know. I mean, no. He seems okay in videos and in such and in statements, but beyond that, you know.
Yeah, we don't, because we don't have access to public. Because, for example, here in the US, when the president go to medical control checkup or something like this, the press office of the White House can publish a press release or something this to tell the American people that the president is getting this and he has this and that, and now he's back to the office after 1 day or 2 days. It's a way to inform the people. Back home, we don't have this.
Staying on your president, he began I believe very popularly because he did end this rough civil war in your country, and that civil war was between two tribes or clans, right?
Not really exactly two tribes, because also the majority of the group were from specific ethnicity, but also it was one of the biggest ethnicity in the country, but it doesn't mean they didn't have leaders from the other clan, That's why even the people when their kids have been killed, like when they were soldier and they have been killed by the government at that moment, they were before the government at that time. Like it's really tricky to speak like which client was really. There is a specific one who has the majority of the fighter back then, but doesn't mean it was 100% from one ethnicity, you know.
Right. You maybe, the ranks are supported by foreign fighters from anywhere, or tribal relationships.
Also, the Mengistu regime shut down in Ethiopia, and some of the fighters they entered the country, and they also they have got some arms, some of their arms with them to Djibouti. So it was very tough time and complicated.
The quick Google of the history of the Civil War paints it kind of simply as two warring tribes. And I understand that it's maybe a little more complicated than that. But what I did understand is I believe the Issa won the Civil War, sort of, right?
We cannot say like in a civil war that one group won.
Right. Everyone loses.
Yeah, everyone is a loser in a civil war. But even a group from the Fruit organization, which is the main group that started the civil war back then, some of them, they converted themselves into a civil political party, and right now they are in the president's coalition. This is how things turned out by the end. And because as I mentioned before, people, they got tired, and there is a lot of element to take into consideration, the dryness. People, they got tired, and also the geopolitical things changed in the world at that time, like the East Bloc lost, and the West kind of won the Cold War at that time. So things went on this direction. And Djibouti is a country without any communist background compared to our neighbor like Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia. They have got some communist government or political group, but Djibouti didn't have this, and I think it's also another element to take into consideration to say why this civil war ended in this way, and how these people, they decided by the end to throw their arms and to join the political life in a civil way.
I did not realize that. That is impressive. You are surrounded by you share a land border with 3 countries, and all 3 of those countries had communist backgrounds.
Yes. Somalia, Eritrea, and Ethiopia.
I guess that would explain why Djibouti is doing actually pretty well.
Yeah, it's very unique. That's why when I talk about Djibouti, I really want to stress into this unique culture and social background, because it's very unique in the region, and it's the diversity of the ethnicity and the culture helped also people to be more open, because people, like most of the people, they speak at least 3 languages, like mix it with, when people are talking even in a small discussion, they mix it Afar, Somali, Arabic, English, French, and like this is very unique, and I think we should preserve this and optimize this in a good way.
It's a question I'm interested in. You have these different, I know I've said this before, you have all these different backgrounds in Djiboutian citizens. They, a lot of them come from different places, different tribes, cultures. Did your government take a firm stance in integrating those people and making it sure that they couldn't sort of form their own enclaves, or do they sort of self-segregate and everything works on its own? I mean, I know you all, let's say, share the same streets.
It's really like people, they got married from each other and form family from different ethnic groups. So it's really very spontaneous and natural in the country. So no one is going to form like an organization only for this ethnicity to another. The people are like, they feel Djiboutian, even though they have roots in neighbor countries, and especially the human relationship and the mixed family is one of the best um, figures of how people cohabitate and how people live together in Djibouti. Like, you cannot like just do like a statement against this ethnic group because maybe your uncle is married to a woman from this group, or your daughter will get married with a man from another group. So especially the new generation are getting married from different ethnic in the same country, and I think it's really helping a lot in terms of society peace.
It's really great news. Genuinely, this is unique.
Yeah, they can also add like when things happened in the neighbor country, and some people try to import this problem into Djibouti because one of the ethnicity in the other country is in Djibouti, but they are fighting in other country. A lot of like wise people even like publish on social media, no, don't do this, don't import this conflicts into Djibouti. Maybe that's right, this is my ethnicity group in the region, but this is not our Djiboutian problem.
There seems to be a kind of a consistent theme throughout your country that like, we're good. We don't need your help. You know, we don't need your mentalities and everything else. Like, you have lots of foreign cultural influence like built up over the time, but ultimately like you guys are a pretty secure makeup, and you don't really look to like other countries for leaders or for guidance. Really, you guys are kind of happy doing your own thing.
This is on the survival way of the people, because people are so resilient and try to survive. But it doesn't mean that people really don't look forward for more democracy or more openness in terms of public sphere, or people doesn't really see what is going on in the other country and hoping having the same democratic system or the same way. Even like when Djiboutian traveled to Kenya, a neighbor country, they really appreciate how its development and also the openness and democracy. For example, the Kenyan system has its own problem, but at least there is minimum of openness and democracy in the country. And Djiboutian travel a lot and see what's going on, especially in the continent and also all over the world. And I think they really look forward to have more democracy.
They're looking forward for their own country. They're looking, for the country to continue developing, for life to continue improving. Sure. But when you talk to Djiboutians on the street, is there a feeling of hopelessness and like just get me out of here by any means? People are happy to be there, or what would you say?
So people sometimes when they look at the neighborhood, they feel, oh yeah, we have stability and thanks God we are good here. And other people, when they see like things are not going on, for example, they don't have enough opportunity, they don't really take advantage of the port business or the foreign military bases business, they feel very angry and they really want to change. People that are looking forward to change. It doesn't mean that if we don't see like people on the street demonstrating, or the global media outlet doesn't speak about the political issues in Djibouti, doesn't mean the problem doesn't exist. And this is here a real problem. Like, if you don't see in the things on the media, people think it doesn't exist, but it do exist. It does exist.
We've come back to the ports a couple times, and I think it's probably worth expanding on why the port in your country is so important. The background that I knew a little bit about it is, you're in the most important shipping lane in the world. You have prime real estate. But the port was, I think, originally partly built with with the United Arab Emirates, and it's now a Chinese port.
You are talking about the Dorali container
Yes.
port?
Yes.
It has been developed by Dubai World Port, the company, the UAE company, and after that, from nowhere, our government decided to get them out from this agreement, and we still have the Emirati company brought Djibouti to similar tribunal in London, and the case is still going on. Nothing is done with this. The government at that time said maybe if we run ourselves the ports, it will be more performing. This is what they said, and they said also this land is part of our sovereignty. This is how they argued to do this. After that, we have seen some Chinese company operating in this port. It's one of the most important port of our port facility. Again, we don't have proper figures about is the port more performing now or not. We don't know, but anyways, a foreign company was running this. Another foreign company is doing the job now, so it's kind of complicated, but we don't know. We don't really know if the port is now more performing or not. We need to have proper figures about this. The government have published some figures proving that it's more performing now, but again, it's not about business port itself. It tells us a lot about the geopolitical fight in the region. Everybody knows the Chinese and the Emirati are having kind of cold war in terms of ports. Both of them want to control the ports in the world. UAE by Dubai World Port, and the Chinese with the Belt and Road project. So Djibouti is kind of sample of what's going on the region, because you have also the Turkish in Somalia. They are taking a lot of facility there. UAE, they are operating in Barbara port in Somaliland. So the Torali case, it's just a sample that tells us a lot about what is going on in terms of global power conflict in this very strategic part of the world. And another thing also to bring into this context is, in the Horn of Africa, we are witnessing now new powers are trying to control this region, this part of the world. So it's not only the Western power that used to be before. Now you have the Turkish, the Emirati, the Qatar. So it's a new dynamic that started. It's a new dynamic that has been born since almost 15 years in the region.
I want to clarify a little bit, because when we're talking about ports in Africa, it isn't really so much Africa. It's the stretch of Africa that you're in, that small horn of Africa. Yeah. All of the ships are passing through there. They're not going to other parts of Africa, really. Yeah. So it's what sounds like 3, maybe even 4 countries now aggressively building out port infrastructure in these in the countries in the Horn of Africa. I understand that for Djiboutians, it's a little hard to tell maybe whether you were better off with the container port being owned by Dubai versus China. When we talk about the importance of the ports in Africa, we're not talking about all of Africa. We're talking about this sliver, the Horn of Africa, where all the ships are passing through. And, what you're saying is you're seeing, a new Cold War opening between all these different countries that are just trying to get port access in the Horn of Africa. And
specifically the narrow of Bab el-Mandeb.
Yes.
Because it leads to Suez Canal in Egypt. So it's very important also because a huge amount of the world's oil trade is going through this narrow.
When we talk about the importance of the ports in your part of the world, your neighboring countries, trade is super important. As you said, it's all oil trade, but it's also goods that are being transshipped through the rest of Africa, or at least Northeast Africa. But that's not the only important area for ports in the Horn of Africa. Djibouti is home to, I think, five
foreign military bases, American and Chinese side by side, along with French, Japanese, and Italian. In a small country that you can cross in only 3 hours by car. Yeah, it's going from Arizona to Texas is further than this.
Much further. Yeah. It's like 20 hours.
Yeah. Incredible.
And I don't want to assume, but I would like to hope that the sheer number of ports, of military ports and military presence that is in your country possibly helps to keep things a little stable. It also might open you up to some risk.
Yeah, especially now, when we are talking here, the war is going on Iran and in the Middle East, and maybe a lot of people have seen the American military bases have been attacked by Iran in the Gulf countries, and a lot of experts also think that the American military base in Djibouti, which is hosting about 4,000 American soldiers, can be also a target for the Iran missiles, and also maybe for one of their allies in Yemen, which is Houthi. So we really don't know. Nothing is confirmed right now. In this moment where we are recording this podcast, we still didn't see any attack on the country, but it's also a good moment to reflect into the business of the military bases in Djibouti. We are expecting to be more secure in hosting these foreign military bases. Basically, all of this, except the French military base, most of them, they came to Djibouti to secure the international trade through Bab el-Mandeb and to fight against terrorism and piracy in the Red Sea. This is how they came, basically in the beginning. But now we need to ask a question like, is this good for local people or not? In my humble opinion, there is no harm to host foreign military bases, but on the other hand, what does the local people get from this bases? Did they bring more businesses? I know some of them, they employ a lot of local people, but it's limited. Also, it's limiting our international cooperation into the security business and the military business. And that's all. We are not having like foreign business investment through accepting this contract. Through accepting to host foreign military bases. We don't see any like American business or Japanese business like a huge one that can create new jobs or help the local economy to bloom.
I want to ask, I know that, or I would assume that long-term stability is important for your president or the government, that they don't want to rock the boat. But I do want to ask what you think might happen if, tomorrow your president says, okay, you want access to our port, you want to keep your military ships here, fine. But, you'll have to, bring X, Y, a bunch of money in. You're going to have to build new schools. You're going to have to put more investments into Djibouti.
Why not?
It seems reasonable to me.
Reasonable and it's fair. It's not like something. We are not asking for something miraculous to get as we contract with these foreign powers, and especially when they are the biggest power in the world. We are not talking about small country. We are talking about the biggest power in the world and the biggest economy in the world. So it's completely fair and it's completely legitimate for Djiboutian people to ask these powers to pay back. I know they will say we are contracting with the government, we are paying our fees, but it's all about this. It's only about military or security partnership. But on the other hand, I don't blame them a lot because it's up to our authority to negotiate this contract in a way to make the people of Djibouti taking advantage of it or to make the country more prosperous. It's all about negotiation.
Right. I mean, I completely understand. But you are, as we've said before, unique. Yeah. You are half of the Bab el-Mandeb, this choke point heading into the Suez Canal. And the other half of it is Yemen. I don't think America wants to put a military base in Yemen. China might, but the Western countries wouldn't. So you have, and especially when you consider your neighbors, they're not the most stable countries. So there aren't a whole lot of options for foreign militaries to have a base in the Bab el-Mandeb. It's kind of just you, and that sounds like why everyone's there.
Yeah, it's getting crowded. I'm joking. It's getting crowded. We have a lot of people there, and it's very, very strategic point, and that's why I'm hoping more democracy and more access to resources for my people back home, because we are not a poor country. We are very wealthy in terms of geopolitics. If we are very wealthy in terms of geopolitics because we are in a very strategic place, and we can do better in terms of governance, more democracy, more access to information, more access to public records, and especially better education and better foreign investment, because it's a very, very good country to be, and Djibouti can be the gate to the Comiza market with millions and millions of African citizens. I think we didn't use 100% of our resources in terms of economy and investment. We still have a lot of things to do. We don't only have beautiful diving experience with whale sharks, which encourage everybody to do it. The season is from November to half February to go and dive with whale sharks. We don't only have this.
The problems that you're talking about, the lack of, foreign investment that comes with, the military ports that are there, the lack of maybe opportunities, the example you gave about Djiboutian truck drivers not getting contracts to ship the goods over to Ethiopia. These are solvable problems to me. I understand that these are serious problems for the country, but these aren't to me, these aren't difficult problems to fix. I totally believe that they're doable. I believe your country has, or even your president has it in him to make a couple negotiations, and they would significantly improve the lives for Djiboutians.
Yeah, they should do this, but now the situation is very far away from having this fixed right now.
And, I'm sure that there are a number of changes you'd like to see from Djibouti.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm interested in is your journalism career, that you moved to Djibouti not at that young of an age, and to pursue a career in journalism. And did you know that there was no freedom of press in Djibouti?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Tunisia, North Africa. I was born and raised there. I went to Djibouti to work as a communication specialist, and I ended back to my beloved passion, which is journalism. Even though the country is not very open, I tried to write a story about social and try to not pass the red lines and to keep myself safe, and tried also to tell the local people is a story through my lenses. I did a lot of photojournalism, and I documented daily life and street life. I tried really to tell the story of the Djiboutian people beyond headlines on the mass media. But it's not enough. I really want to tell the truth about what is going on there and how the people are living their daily life, their daily struggle. And when you are in a country where there is a lot of restriction to journalists, it's very hard to do proper journalism reporting, but there is all the time a way to tell the story in a different way. It may be not the classic way that journalists in democracy can do, but there is all the time a way to tell the people is a story, and to bring this story to the rest of the world. I also want to give back to Djiboutian people who welcomed me, and I never felt like a foreign there. I melt into the society, and this is really, really beautiful how these people are welcoming, and they don't care like you are foreign or not, and especially like how I look like. I fit very easily into the local faces and local people, something that really I didn't get easily in my home country, Tunisia. So in Djibouti, I don't feel foreign thanks to my color of skin or my hair or how I look like, and I feel really Djiboutian from the outside and the inside. That's why I'm continuing to tell Djibouti is a story through my lenses as a photographer or my reporting as a journalist. I think Djibouti for me is like a piece of diamond under the dust, and you should just clean up, and it will be very shiny, and the whole world will look at it.
That is a really good way of describing the feeling that I got when I was looking at some of your photos, because they were really beautiful. It might have, people might be working in, on dirt floors and in front of, sort of tattered buildings. But the things that they were working with looked amazing. The fabrics, the people themselves looked happy. They didn't look worn out and unhappy and exhausted. It did really seem like just honestly a great place to be.
Yeah, the people are so welcoming, and a lot of people, the expats, when they cry when they come to Djibouti, and they cry when they leave. Why they cry when they come? Because they think, oh, it's a tiny country, there is not a lot of entertainment and stuff. And they cry when they leave because they really miss the people and the country, the beautiful beach, the tasty food, the smiley faces, the hospitality. The hospitality is really, really good in Djibouti. I can tell one story, but stuck on my mind that one of the people from Tajora, it's a city on the north of Djibouti. So during the colonialism time, an Italian man came to Tajora, and he got married with an Ethiopian lady and stayed in Djibouti, opened a small hotel, and he grew up his kids there, and they are Christian family. And when his son passed away, the whole people of Tajora, which are Muslim, they went with him to the church to say goodbye to his son. This is a really incredible example, and it's not only one thing that they can tell about the tolerance and the hospitality of the Djiboutian people. This is very unique in the region, and even this is very unique in the world.
It is. I mean, the example that I immediately think of is, especially for predominantly Muslim country, if you're in Morocco and, you're finding yourself walking through some of the old city, you can easily end up in streets that you're not allowed to walk down because they, I think, lead to a mosque, and those streets are only for Muslims. You're not allowed to enter. For predominantly Muslim country, for Muslims to go into a church is quite a concept to me.
Yeah, because they grew up together, they went to the school together, this guy was part of the community, and even though now if you go to the Golf Hotel, which the hotel of the father, his name is Mondino, he's Italian. So if you go there to book a room, you will find in the evening the community are there drinking and eating and sharing like quality time with the owner's daughters or son. It's very unique, and this is what makes Djibouti a beautiful country and with a lot of potential. And there is a lot of things to do in Djibouti, and all of these things can happen when people have their voices back and their power back.
And this all ties back into the picture that you want the world to see of Djibouti. You don't want the only thing people to know about Djibouti is refugee crises and military bases and shipping or something. There's more to your country than that.
There is a lot of things to see and to experience, from the Virgin Island to the wild shark diving, to the Lac Assal, which is a place, one of the most important salt reserve in the world and the lowest place in Africa. It's very beautiful. The Laka Bay, if you go there, you will imagine that you are on planet Mars. It's a very unique landscape. I feel Djibouti is underrated on the media, and it's limited to the foreign military bases and immigration crisis. And it's not fair, and it's not the real face of Djibouti.
One of the first areas, that I was thinking about in terms of, creating opportunities but also tying into this, what we just talked about with your country just being slept on. People don't know what makes it great. I haven't seen any ads for Visit Djibouti, right? I mean, I've seen ads for Visit Saudi Arabia, and I've seen ads for Dubai and any other country I can think of. But your country doesn't have a big tourism presence, from what I can tell.
We still don't have like a real touristic business. It's kind of doing this on the very random way, like tourist guides or small travel agency. It's not really very developed. So, for example, for the diving business, it's really, really important to work on it, because the wild sharks are a very, very beautiful creature that you can see. You can dive with them and even touch them, and they are so friendly. But still, we don't have like national campaign or something like, as you mentioned, like Visit Dubai or Visit Saudi Arabia or Visit Morocco or something like this. Unfortunately, we still don't have this. And it's, again, it's because our authority, they don't really do the best to make the country more prosperous and well known on the international tourism landscape.
There are definitely areas that you could easily, I want to say, create, development in. I don't believe that you need the Chinas of this world or the Americans or whoever to come in and, build a school for you or set up a trucking company for you. I do believe that can happen from your own people.
Yeah, sure. The people are smart enough. They are powerful enough to do the job. And these people who are like so diversified background, and they are very open-minded. They are people are living in a coastal country. It's all the time people open it to the rest of the world. I think we need to do better in terms of democracy and public accountability and freedom of speech to be able to develop our country and to be also able to negotiate with international countries in a proper way, in a way that makes the local people more prosper and more living in a more developed country. It's all about public accountability and democracy, because people are, when they have the freedom and the democracy, they will choose the right leader to do the job, and when these leaders are not doing well, they can punish them by not voting for them again. It's as simple as that. This is how democracy works.
Right. Authoritarian regimes are really good at clamping down on unrest and violence and that kind of thing. But they're not always the best at ensuring, that the next generation has a better life. For your government, it might be easy to just collect the port money, the foreign military money, and that might be good enough for them. But what I'm wondering is, your president's been in power for close to 30 years. And as you're saying, Djibouti the people are becoming, I would maybe say, dissatisfied with the government. And if that continues, then they're going to want to search for a form of government that will cut them better trade deals, that will negotiate for them maybe a little better. Is that a goal of yours? I should maybe not ask you if you're advocating for regime change, but I am interested in what you mean when you are looking for a more democratic Djibouti.
I mean that the people can choose their leader in a very fair election and in a very democratic way, and people can see the fruit of hosting all these military bases and all this port service. They should see the fruit of it, and the fruits can be better education, more openness, and better, as you mentioned before, touristic business or something like this. People really, they are not asking for like a huge thing that cannot be realistic. It's good education, good health, more openness in terms of freedom of speech and democracy, and this is the basic rights in our country. So why our people are not allowed to have it? This is the question.
When you see the future of Djibouti, 10 years, 20 years, what are some things that come to you?
It's kind of tough prediction, Max, to predict like what is going on, because really the situation is unpredictable now. But I can talk about hope. I hope that the people will get the power back, and especially the new generation can live in a better country with better education and better health system and better international investment, better jobs, because they deserve the better. This is what I hope, but I cannot predict for the next 10 years because, as you see, the region is now kind of in a big change, and there is a lot of conflict in the region. Djibouti is more closer to the Middle East than the rest of the continent. So what is going on in the region will absolutely impact us in Djibouti. I hope not impact us in a bad way. I hope it will impact us in a good way. I hope all these conflicts around us will end very soon to be able to do more fair and proper business or relationship between us and our neighbor. This is what I hope. I hope the best for my people, and especially for the young generation to grow up in a more prosperous and developed Djibouti.
It's a hope I share as well. I hope that your country can get those things for itself. I hope for my sake that we can continue to have a military base there. I think it is really important to us. And I do think that these things can totally happen together. That, that ideally the unrest with Yemen and also especially Iran, that we can all move past that. Open trade is good for everyone, and I hope your country can continue to prosper from international shipping. And that the Suez Canal doesn't become too risky. That people instead just ship by South Africa. I really hope that your country's prosperity continues. It's very exciting, and I'd love to see more good news and not just bad headlines coming out of Djibouti.
Yeah.
Zineb, thank you so much for this conversation. It was really eye-opening. Djibouti and the Horn of Africa and really the whole region is super interesting to me. It's been a really great time being able to learn a little bit more about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Max, for hosting me on this podcast and giving me this opportunity to tell the story of Djibouti to the American audiences. And I will end by one statement. I hope one day we will have a big campaign that says, Habibi, come to Djibouti.
I'll be there. Thank you, Zineb.